Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a quick process video for you today. I'm going to be working through day 2 of Consider Jesus from Bythewell4God. I have already written out all of my notes and my study scriptures and all of that. I'm just going to set that off to the side while I work on this page. I am working in my journal. I created this journal using the Build-A-Book kit as of the recording of this. There are still a few of those available in the shop. I will put my affiliate link down below if you're interested in getting some of these, either maybe for this kit or for one down the road. They don't release these very often, so this is only the second time that they've done it. I love these kits because they give you everything that you need to create this journal, so and it's just really convenient. But so like I said, if you want one, then you can go snag one of those. But what I'm going to do today is kind of create a mixed media, I guess you could call, background. I'm starting with some acrylic paint. This is the Dina Wakley paint. This is the color Sand, I believe. And I'm just dry brushing this on. I want those kind of streaks and lines and paint strokes in there. So just kind of, in some areas I'm applying it really lightly and others with a little bit more force, just to kind of get some difference in that paint. And then because I'm applying it in such thin layer, it's going to dry super, super quick, and it's not curling the paper at all. This paper is really good paper, this craft cardstock that's in this book. So I'm just adding a second coat here in a few of these places just to make this a little bit more opaque in some of the areas, because I'm going to be adding a little bit of color and I want to have a good background for that. So I'm not doing it everywhere. It just, in a few places, it just adds another kind of layer of dimension on there. And then I have a little bit of extra paint, so I'm just going to apply this to a tag that I have already put some modeling paste on. And this was from the previous day when I was working on it. I just don't like to waste my stuff, so I just applied it on there. And then I'm going to come in with some distress crayons in Weathered Wood and Stormy Sky. And I'm just kind of applying this randomly across the page, but on like the areas where the acrylic paint is, kind of right at the edge, because it's going to kind of create a little bit of shadowy areas where it hits the craft cardstock, and then it'll be more color where it's on the acrylic paint. And I'm just going to kind of go back and forth, just getting the color kind of where I want it. Most of the distress crayon I'm adding over the acrylic paint, and then I'll come back in and add a little bit to the craft areas later on. But I'm just coming in through, these colors look almost identical, and especially on camera, because I apologize for that glare from that nonstick craft sheet is making my camera do weird things. But in person you can tell the difference. It's just on camera it's kind of hard to see, but just kind of blending those in. I'm okay with them being kind of streaky, but I don't want there to be obvious lines. I really just am wanting the little kind of bits of color throughout there, and then blend it out. And then I will come back through here and add into the craft, because whenever you're using craft, everything kind of looks a little bit different when it's applied on the craft paper, obviously. And then these colors do look a little bit different also, because that sand paint is more of a cream color. It's not, it's like almost like a Bible page color. And then I'm going to come in and add another layer of texture, visual texture, with this stamp set. Actually, it's called Extravagant Texture. This was, I believe, last year's October, November stamp, but I'm using archival ink in the color of Ground Espresso. And you can see I'm just kind of randomly applying. I'm randomly applying the ink, and then I'm very lightly kind of laying the stamp down, and then I'm only pressing with the very tips of my fingers kind of in certain areas. You can kind of see there, because I don't want a full impression of the stamp. I want it to be distressed and and sporadic. And so I'm just kind of doing that. There's this one little area, I got this weird line that I don't really care for, but I'm going to work on that a little bit. So there's a couple of points where it was just a little bit more intense than I wanted it. So I'm going to come back in with my same paintbrush, that same acrylic paint in that sand color, and just kind of, again, just lightly paint over a few of those areas. And then really going to work on that one area right here where that line is just, I don't know what happened there, but I just didn't really like that. In the end, it's covered up by something else, so it's fine. And I got a little bit too much, and I just wiped that up with a baby wipe, just kind of going back and forth until you get like the look that you want. If you wanted that texture, that, typeface further back, you could definitely add another layer of paint over the top of that. Now I'm going to add some distressing around the edge of the page. This is really because I just wasn't sure what my next step was yet. When I started this page, I didn't really have an idea completely what I wanted to do. And so I'm just kind of winging it. You can kind of see here I was kind of deciding, do I want to use paint? Do I want to use, how do I want to use this stencil? This is called Coffee Rings, I believe. This is the one that released to go along with this kit, obviously. And then I'm using that same archival ink. I decided to just use the same ink that I stamped with. Using a makeup brush here, and I'm just going to randomly apply this stencil around the page. I'm not looking for these to like pop off, really intensely. I just wanted to add just another layer of interest there in the background. And ordinarily when I'm doing like a mixed media things, some of you would like to add contrast, so you would add black or white, but I just felt like that would be too intense for this, which is why I just went ahead and used that same archival ink there in the ground espresso. And now I know that I want to use this tea bag. These also released with the kit, but I obviously don't want to use it in white. So I'm going to add some color to this with the Distress Stain, and I use the Walnut Stain color. You can see where probably already that I have added way too much, and then I added some water to kind of get some of that color to move around, and then there's just way too much ink here. So I'm going to mess with this just a little bit. These probably caused me more problems than than I really was necessary. But anyway, you can see I have just a ton of ink. So I'm going to grab another one of these little tea bags, and then I'm going to spray it down with a little bit of water and pick up some of this ink from this first tea bag. And then I have to set these off to dry. I started to dry them with my heat tool, and it was just taking forever, and it really wasn't working very well. So I was getting frustrated. So I just set those off to the side and let them dry. And then when I came back, I have everything kind of finished. You can see this one. I started to melt it basically with my my heat tool. So public service announcement here really quick. If you've never used this, this is called Gloves in a Bottle. You can see my hands are pretty inky. This is after I've washed them multiple times trying to get that ink off. I never remember to use that stuff before I do something inky, but it's called a barrier lotion, and you just put it in your hands like you would normal lotion, and it prevents like some of the inks and paints and stuff from getting like soaking down into your skin. So it's not like completely 100% perfect, but it does make a huge difference. I just never remember to use it ahead of time. So anyway, it's called Gloves in a Bottle. You can get it on Amazon. I just thought I would throw that out there. If you like mixed media techniques like I do, I tend to get messy. So anyway, back to the page here. I have this glassine envelope that I'm going to be using. And then I have the tea bag as well on the left side. And so I feel like I need to anchor those pieces down so they're not just kind of floating off in the middle of my page. Mostly because I don't have like one very specific focal point for this page. So I am going to just kind of use this trim as an anchor. I got this at Hobby Lobby. I'm using Helmar 450 quick dry adhesive to glue this down. You could use Fabri-Tac. You probably could use Barely Arts glue, but whenever I'm using like fabric and lace and stuff, I really like using the Helmar. It just works really well and dries quickly. So I need to be careful how I'm applying the adhesive here on the back of this little tea bag, because I'm using it as a pocket. And so if you obviously put glue, it can seep through the holes of this tea bag. So I just added it right to the edges, and I'm going to take all my flashcards, and I have a little index card in there as well. And these have some notes and some word studies written on the back of the flashcards. And then I'm just tucking those in my little tea bag there. And I have this ephemera piece from the kit, and I want to distress around the edges of it a little bit. And then I'm going to be really careful about how I apply adhesive to this as well. I could not just add liquid adhesive and stick it on the tea bag, of course, because it would leak. It could seep through the holes of the tea bag. So I am using some foam tape just kind of strategically along here. I'm only adding it basically to the bottom of this piece and then the little area to the right. And so it will just kind of nestle up against the tea bag, which is fine because it's kind of hard to tell, but it's quite dimensional with all of those flashcards in there. There's several flashcards and then the index card as well. So this will kind of keep everything flush and I don't have to worry about glue seeping through my little tea bag there. And then on the opposite side, I'm going to put my glassine envelope. So I have a couple of the journaling cards that came with the devotional this time. I also have a couple library cards. These are the ones that are like the shop classics from By the Well. I always keep those on hand because I tend to take a lot of notes. So I just like having those because they're all just neutral colors. And then I have this ephemera piece and I'm about to add adhesive and I realized I had not distressed it. So I'm going to go through and do that really quick. Same distress archival ink in ground espresso that I'm using basically for this entire page. And then I will go back in and adhere this down. I'm using the Helmar 450 because I have it out and also because that glassine is really slippery. I don't remember if I said, but I did color that with that same makeup sponge or, makeup brush and archival ink too, just to add, just to kind of take down some of the kind of white aspect of it. And then I have this other little ephemera piece that I really just wanted to use on this page for some reason. So I'm going to tuck it behind on the left side of this glassine envelope, kind of tucked behind it. And then I'm going to bring one of the flowers up around on the top side of it. So using that same clear adhesive here for my my glassine envelope. I'm kind of mostly applying it just to the middle section of that so that I can leave myself a way to be able to tuck this piece in there behind that. And then I brought one of those flowers kind of up over the top. So I want to add just a little bit more around this ephemera piece. I just felt like it needed a little something extra. So I'm using these clear stickers. These are the little mini stickers that they released this month. By the Well really tries to listen to everybody's input, and people were asking for just a set of these little mini stickers. These are, kind of the same size as the little pocket Bible stickers. And so these are the ones that I'm just going to add kind of as background, just as another little layer. So I added a couple of them here on the glassine envelope, and then I'm going to add a couple of them on the craft paper kind of behind that ephemera piece. Also, I'm trying to bring some of that yellow over here over to the left side. So in person, this is a lot more visible than it is on camera, but now I need to include my title for this page. I love that that By the Well released the title starters in the stickers this month. It's just super helpful. So I am going to use this. I'm just trying to make sure everything is going to line up. I'm going to add that title on this label, but I want to knock back some of the white of that. So I'm just using whatever ink's left over on my makeup brush there and just adding some ink to the background of this label. And then I'm going to take this title starter and I'm going to center those words kind of in the middle. And then the excess part that hangs over kind of where the edges of the label would be, I'm just going to trim that off. You could let it run all the way off the edges if you wanted to, but I wanted to keep it kind of toward the inner part of that. And then this will also help bring some yellow kind of across to the left side of this as well. There's not much on the left side. And then I did want to add just a little bit for some more interest. I'm using these little tiny stickers again, one here up in the top left of that label, and then I'm going to add another here down on the bottom right, just for a little bit of balance and a little bit of interest on that piece. And then that is pretty much everything that I'm going to do. I want to also indicate that this is day 2. So I'm pulling out my little tile alphas, putting the number 2 down here in the bottom left corner. And that will pretty much be it. I do need to trim off on that left side, that little trim piece is hanging over the edge. But that will pretty much be it for me for today. So if you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.